When I say anniversary, I mean 1 year now, Grace, after the Georgia Guidestones' sudden demise. You have covered this extensively, and there are still at least two nagging questions. Two nagging questions that were asked last week by Jimmy Corsetti, and that we've all asked ourselves at one point or another. Number one is, what happened to this car that was caught on tape? What happened to that time capsule? What was in it? And maybe the third question is, what was the purpose of the demolition? Have you thought about this at all in the year that has passed?
Yeah, it seems like they had all this evidence that somebody bombed them Guidestones, and they had all the car footage and the timestamps and everything, and nothing came of it. Nothing happened.
Nothing.
And you'd think if they had a real lead on that, something would have happened. But they demoed the Guidestones not 12 hours after they were blown up. So was there a deep forensic investigation that took place on, what actually went down, exploded, if there were explosives used or what? I don't know. But have you been to the Guidestones before?
No, and I know that this is in your. Well, I mean, it's in your state. I don't know how close you are to it, but I know this is also why you took personal interest in it, because this is a very obscure thing that is just sitting in your backyard.
Yeah, I've been twice. Okay, and on both occasions. And this is a common story amongst people who bring their cameras there and whatever. There's 50 million cameras at the Georgia Guidestones, all pointed at you, your license plates. It's a 5-acre parcel in Elberton County, which is the granite capital of the world, apparently. And when I went the first time, there were all these people there who they would basically follow you around. I don't mean to sound paranoid. I've never had a situation like this, but they follow you around while you're there. It's like they're just NPCs following you around at the Guidestones at all times, just like saying things like, "Oh, 500 million, keep the population under 500 million." Sounds good. If there were less people in the world, just people making random commentary.
NPC comments,
and you engage them in conversation, like, where are you from? Oh, I'm from here. I'm from here. I'm just hanging out. It was so strange. And the second time we went, my drone didn't work the first time, so I went a second time because I had to get that red spot on top of the Guidestones. You know what I'm talking about? That they said was algae or whatever.
I didn't know this.
Okay, so for the aerial view of the Guidestones pre-demolition, there was this big red spot on the capstone that looks like people, have been up there getting sacrificed, if you want to let your imagination run wild. It's very red, and they built this with such skill. You'd think that if it were algae or fungus or something like that, they have proper water drainage. You can see the North Star from any point through the hole in the Guidestones. It was so expertly built. All the sacred geometry. You'd think they could build a capstone with water runoff, so it didn't collect in the center and make a red spot. It was so strange. But anyway, so I went there the first time. My drone wouldn't work. It was user error. It wasn't any interference or anything like that. It was me. So I went a second time, and I had the same situation where a guy from Elberton County is just following you around the entire time, not looking at the stones or anything, just watching you. So it was strange. But back to our topic here, I think that they were destroyed by Elberton County owns them. They're a huge source of revenue for Elberton County as far as like visitorship and tourism.
You got to pay to see them? You got to pay?
You do not have to pay, but there is a granite museum that is associated with the Guidestones where you can go and check it out, and you do have to pay for that. But there's nothing else going on in that town except for the Guidestones. So it created a lot of interest. And do I think they destroyed it? It was in their care. They are the ones who pay for the upkeep, the groundskeeper, the cameras. They're the one who have people watch the cameras. I don't know. I don't see the incentive there because it created so much revenue for them.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure, but if it was a rogue individual, I think we would know by now.
Totally.
It was made so obvious. Who do you think who did it?
I don't. Well, you've already checked off. You've crossed off two reasons why, two of the suspects for me. If it were the county, as you said, that would be just like cutting off your nose to spite your face. Why? Because every once in a while somebody spray paints it and you have to scrub it off. It's too much of a liability.
Right.
I mean, so that's number one. I don't even consider that. Number two, a rogue individual. Yeah, they would have found them. They would have found them. I mean, the news coverage still hinted at right-wing extremism being a part of conspiracy theory mindset, and that's probably what's going on there. But you'd think that they would want to hold up their trophy bass for the cameras. Now,
right.
That makes me wonder about one thing. And like you said, they tampered with their own crime scene. They cleaned it up within hours. You can't tell me that there was a full forensic whatever investigation within that first 12 hours and they decided we got to get this thing down and get it out of here quick. Everything gone. So it makes me wonder, was it a retrieval mission for the time capsule and or the signifying of a transition into a new phase of a long publicized plan? Maybe it was symbolic to say that, you know, this is over. The revelation of the method. We showed you this for however many years, and now it's time to go. And I don't know. I think that maybe the thing that gets me most titillated is thinking about that being in some way, shape, or form related to a retrieval mission for this fabled time capsule. So, and by the way,
right.
you've been to the site. Do you know whereabouts it was? Is it underneath the actual structure?
Well, it says on the little informational concrete thing that the time capsule is buried underneath. So they had all those pictures of the excavator digging for the time capsule. There was no time capsule, which I don't believe. That is silly. Of course there was a time capsule. They're just not telling us, in my opinion. But yeah, it said the time capsule was right under where all the information was to be retrieved at a date that had not yet been inscribed.